Arianna Huffington is with me, founder and CEO of Thrive Global. Arianna, it is good to talk to you. The one thing I find extraordinary, I've been talking to everybody from our producers to people on the working from home program, the stress levels and the psychological and mental health issues could become incalculable.
Absolutely. You know, Richard, you wrote a piece after you started recovering from the virus, and you said COVID is a tornado with a very long tail. Well, it's very clear from all the data you mentioned that the long tail is going to be the mental health consequences. So it's imperative that we recognize that both as individuals and as companies. We're working with many companies that see not just the dangers now, but the dangers ahead. And we need a different playbook where we recognize that there are actually micro steps we can take every day while we're acknowledging the sense of overwhelm and stress to course correct. We have that power in us. We need to start using it. Based on the latest neuroscience, for example, it takes 60 seconds to course correct from stress. We're never going to eliminate stress, but taking the 60 seconds to breathe, to remember what we're grateful for, to get enough sleep at night, to avoid or limit sugar and alcohol, all these things, even if we start small with these micro steps that at Thrive we call too small to fail, it's imperative that we recognize we can no longer just power through all the stress and anxiety. We need to take corrective measures.
Right. You talk about the importance in the corporate sphere of the chief human relations officer, sort of somebody who's always thought of as being there to do the CEO's dirty work in some shape or form. But the reality is, I wonder how many corporations are ready for this wealth of, I mean, just, you know, it doesn't mean you're about to collapse and have a nervous breakdown, but it does mean that there are intolerable strains that need to be accounted for.
Absolutely. Well, we are working with some amazing CHROs, like Ellen Shook at Accenture, for example, and Donna Morris at Walmart, who recognize that this is now a business imperative. This is not just being nice to your employees, who have some latest data that show 5 to 10% drops in productivity because of the accumulation of stress. And there are things we can do. We launched with Accenture, for example, a program called Thriving Mind that is a preventive mental health program. It's not enough just to have hotlines, very important though they are, and telemedicine once you are depressed and anxious. We also need to adopt healthier behaviors that can prevent us from becoming depressed and anxious.
I think many of us back in March, we sort of always had a sneaking suspicion this wasn't going to go away sort of very fast. But I don't think any of us really grasped, when Boris Johnson said earlier that normality might be here by Christmas. And now we're finding out that normality will not be here by Christmas or into the new year. How damaging does that do? What do you make of it?
Well, actually, Richard, I believe that this is also an incredible opportunity not to allow this crisis to go to waste by recognizing that the way we're living and working before was unsustainable, even pre-pandemic, and kind of changing the way we work and live, making sure that we recognize that taking care of ourselves is not a sign of weakness, that it's actually essential for top performance and for health. So the one thing that makes me optimistic is that this pandemic can be a portal where we leave behind all the things that were not working and build a new world which is going to be healthier, frankly, much more productive and creative, and also more empathetic and inclusive, because all these qualities that we are looking for now as individuals and as corporations, empathy, inclusion, etc., are very hard without taking care of ourselves first.
Arianna, I'm here in London. I'm in quarantine. The only person I've seen for the last last week, I should say, is the Waitrose delivery grocery person, and they ran off down the corridor of the building, and the Amazon delivery man. I seem to be getting deliveries every day. How does one engage, turn oneself round that mental condition?
Well, the first thing right now is to recognize that even during this time of isolation, which for many people it's even more extreme, Richard, because at least in 2 weeks you're going to be free out in the wild, is to recognize that we can connect with ourselves first, that we have that place of resilience, wisdom, strength, peace. Every spiritual and philosophical tradition tells us that. And from that place, it's easy to connect with others, whether we are on Zoom or on a phone call or in these virtual ways, until we can break bread together again.
I am looking forward to that day, be it in Los Angeles at your place, in London at mine, New York in the middle. Arianna, I'm looking forward to that day when we break bread together again. Thank you for joining us tonight on the programme.